This is the Dreame X40 Ultra, and it's been doing a great job keeping our floors clean in our home for about the past year. Dreame has sent me the brand new X50 Ultra, and it has several updates over the X40 that make it really appealing. But is it worth the extra cost compared to the X40? Let's talk about it. I'll post a link to my full video, but let's start with a quick recap on the X40 Ultra's standout features. It was Dreame's first model with an extendable side brush to reach into corners. This is in addition to the extendable mop pad that has been on Dreame's robot vacuums since the L20 Ultra. It also has the ability to leave the mop pads behind like the models since the L20.
Mop pads removed.
The X40 also has side and main brushes that can lift whenever a liquid mess is encountered. That way they don't get gunked up and can stay dry. AI object detection works very well on the X40 thanks to laser and RGB camera detectors on the front of the unit, along with the LED headlight for seeing at night. All of these great features carry over to the new X50 Ultra. So what does the X50 Ultra add over the X40? The headline feature is the ProLeap system that can lift the vacuum up to cross thresholds up to 2.4 inches high. In my testing with some 2x lumber, this works very well. Some thresholds you may have to manually add to the map using their mobile app, where you get a slightly humorous warning that makes sure the robot isn't going to yeet itself down the stairs. You might also need to be mindful that this means the robot can climb up onto things that others previously couldn't. Things like this thick bath mat that gained some tire marks and I had to mark off limits when the X50 decided to climb up on top of it. The X50 also has a retractable lidar sensor on top that Dreame calls Versalift. This enables the X50 Ultra to go under any furniture down to 3.5 inches tall. For comparison, the X40 and X30 before it could only fit under 3.8 inches. So that gives the X50 a little more than a 1/4 inch additional clearance versus those models. In our house, that means the robot can now slide under our entertainment center to vacuum up the dust bunnies underneath it, which the X40 could never fit under. This is another meaningful change to make sure their vacuum covers as much ground as possible. Vacuuming performance has also been improved on the X50. It can now detect large particles on the ground and ramp up suction to make sure they are picked up. That's helpful for areas like our dog's food bowl where some food may have spilled over. Speaking of suction, it's now improved from 12,000 on the X40 to 20,000 pascals on the X50. That's pretty significant. The main brush is now a dual unit that uses Dreame's unique duo brush design to prevent tangling of long hair. The two brushes only connect on one side of the robot and funnel long hair to the opposite end to be sucked in the dustbin. On my X40 here, you can see how I had to periodically take out the main brush to clean the long hair off. I've done several runs with the X50 now, and there's hardly anything left on the main brushes, so I'd say the duo brush is working well. The increased suction in dual brushes do a noticeably better job at vacuuming our rugs and carpets compared to the X40. The base station of the X50 has also seen some improvements. Dreame has replaced the mop cleaning base that had rotating squeegees on the X40 with a system they call Ace Clean that uses 20 spray nozzles instead. I noticed this system is quieter than previous ones since it has less moving parts, and it seems to clean the mops just as well. Now the only thing to periodically clean in the mop tray is this small filter tray that you can take out and rinse in the sink. I've also noticed that the X50's base station seems to be better at fully emptying the robot's dustbin. I'm not sure exactly what they improved here, but it is noticeable. With the X40, it would periodically get clogged and I have to manually empty the bin or unclog the dust chute. One thing that hasn't changed at all on the X50 is the mopping system on board the robot. It uses essentially the same mopping technology that Dreame has had since the L20 Ultra. One tip I have with a rotating mop system like Dreame uses, where there might be a slight gap between the pads, is to enable deep cleaning under the Clean Genius settings. This causes the robot to overlap the mopping pass more for a more complete coverage. Now that we talked about the features of the Dreame X40 Ultra and the X50 Ultra, which one is right for you? Well, let's talk about price. The X40 Ultra is now around $1,000 now that the X50 is out. The X50 retails for about $1,700, but I think it's on sale for about $1,500 right now. So we're talking about a $500 difference, which is a lot of money. So what would justify you wanting to get the X50 over the X40? Well, obviously the ProLeap system with crossing those larger thresholds, if you have some of those in your house, that can mean the difference between buying one robot vacuum and two robot vacuums because a normal robot vacuum can't access that area of your house because of that threshold. So if that applies to you, I would for sure get the X50 because that's going to save you from having to buy 2 raw vacuums if you're wanting full coverage in your house. The other thing I would consider is that the performance on cleaning carpets of the X50 is really that much better than the X40. The additional suction and the dual brushes make it very thorough at cleaning carpets. So if your floor plan has a lot of carpet, or especially thick carpet, I would go for the X50 over the X40. Spend that extra $500. That way you're getting a really good clean on your carpets. Now, if you're like me, where you have mostly hard floors and real low pile rugs and things around your house, I don't know if I would spend the extra $500 and go for the X50. The X40 is really that good, and the mopping systems between them are identical. There is no improvements on the mopping system between the X40 and the X50. So if you have a lot of hard floors or real low pile carpets, I would go for the X40. And I would even argue that you might even be able to drop down to the X30, which goes for around $800, because there's really not a lot of difference between the X30 and the X40, except for the extendable side brush that can reach into corners. That's the big one. So if you don't mind that, having to go around with a handheld vac every month or so and getting your nooks and crevices in the side corner, I would even drop down the X30, which is an additional $200 savings over the X40. That's my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think between the X40 and the X50 and which one you would get if you were in the market for a high-end robot vacuum.